I've been involved in activism since I was like maybe 10, because I grew up in Bolivia and within a military country. And one of the things that got me aware was that in Argentina in 1977, they were arresting a lot of students. And during the course of like the first 2 years, they were drugging students during arrest and dropping them in the ocean. So that really made me completely conscious of what kind of world we lived in. And they had parents that every week, every Wednesday, for now, since the 1970s, have been there. They used to be called the Mothers of the Plaza de Mayo. And they would come every Wednesday and demand to know where their children were. They became the grandmothers, obviously. In 1990, I moved to New York and I tested positive. So since 1990, I participated in a lot of the activities with ACT UP. And very quickly, I had a couple of mentors because there wasn't a lot of room for women, especially a woman of color. There was a lot of people that didn't believe that I would be somebody positive, especially in the 90s. So a lot of people looked out and mentored me to be in policy. So we used to get, we still do, get funding from the federal government. It's called Ryan White Title I. So we used to be creating policy, creating funding for things that didn't exist, like Housing Works or God's Love, a lot of access to medicine. So that's how my involvement and remains till this day. The activism in Bolivia was very different because, we were, until I was 12, we were like 5 families in the whole country being Chinese. So the fear of like being immigrant and a community that's not really recognized. My parents, of course, were, why are you getting involved? So that was hard. And I think fast forwarding to the 90s, being a positive person wherever you are, I think even in the workplace, by stating what kind of status you are, people do shut you down, because I think there was a time where people always thought that it was contained in a community, even though people say that they're open. The fact that there is one of you or one of somebody that they didn't expect all of a sudden made the threat higher. So there's a lot of like trying to shut you down. I think that's where we encounter things where people deny you work or residence. The critical work for activism actually is sitting and learning how to work with policy and creative policy. And within that is the ability to really search out people that are much better than you and use that as part of your tool. For example, learning about financing and how you can really look at a problem and change it, so that when you do the protest work and when the doors do open, you're not just repeating the problem, saying this is what is bad or clinical trials are wrong, but you actually have a plan. And that takes a lot of stamina, and sometimes it takes years. The glory of just doing protest work, let's say, is very, very different. You need to be so much more informed to negotiate all that. And we've, sat with people that have never been challenged, not because they just wanted to deny us, it's just that nobody had ever said this could be done differently. Like we can't make it to Maryland. Clinical trials could be done here, and to show how that flow would work. To have the ability to learn how to look at data, what the big picture is. Asian people barely have a stage to participate. And part of it is the way culturally we are taught is to really feel invisible. And the moment that I do feel that, it kind of impairs me and really takes away my ability to do a lot of things. So when I come into that, unfortunately, the reasons I'm able to bounce back are the same reasons from the beginning. Has always been because of death or very dire situations like hunger. abandonment. And those things cannot be replicated in every single movement because it's not immediate. But with AIDS was a very immediate thing. So there was no space to feel just that vulnerability, and just, I felt like everybody that I knew that died was an effort that I didn't meet. I actually lost work because people were so afraid of my status, where I wasn't even allowed to use the bathroom, that kind of stuff. People that were related to me lost work. So I had to create work for myself. And it took me many, many, many years to have my own business and be able to maintain that, and to be a boss instead of being an employee, and be able to get that kind of work without trading my status was also really, really important to me. I didn't want to have people give me work just because I was a positive person. So a lot of people usually do not know that about my life. And I've been able to create that opportunity and that language for myself, that kind of history for myself. The business that I was in, I was a creative director, and I used to do a lot of advertising. And so I worked for Milton Glaser, for example, and I had to learn how to do everything by hand. Within that, my status was a problem because people didn't want me to use scissors and that kind of stuff, and there was a lot of fear. So for many years, I had to create that. So I had like a graphic design studio, and then I couldn't get health insurance because I didn't want to come out. So finally, I got hired in a big company, which they had to give you insurance. Absolutely. I feel like there's a lot of historical talk about how ACT UP was not very welcoming to women, consciously or unconsciously. But within that, there was always somebody out there looking out for me. Some of the partnerships I've had been in the length of 27 years or 30 years now, and but tight, really, really tight. So for us, it's like this incredible sense of like we survived something so horrific, and if we can pass it on and embrace new ways of doing things, is actually one of the greatest like communities that that I'm part of right now at Rise and Resist. Gays Against Guns talks about how gun being a health issue. How do you sit down with the key people that can actually translate that into policy? Is what I believe, especially in this generation that has access to so much technology and contacts in some ways. What we were able to do without any of this stuff, they could do it even better.